Beyond the scope of our perception, there's an invisible world we know little about. A world you can only detect with the right supersense. Where flowers take on a dazzling range of colors, and bodies glow with heat. A world where secret signals cover vast distances, leave hidden messages, and echo across the darkness. All around us, there's an invisible world we are only beginning to discover. Animals have evolved an arsenal of tools to navigate and survive life on Earth. With abilities far beyond our own. With these supersenses, they can overcome seemingly impossible obstacles. Imagine having to catch your dinner while traveling at high speed. Now imagine having to do it in total darkness. The long-eared bat is found throughout Europe and Asia. They live and hunt in the pitch black of night. This bat's after moths, which are expert aerobatic flyers and among the quickest insects. Not an easy thing to catch at night. To add to the challenge, hunting on the wing demands vast amounts of energy, so bats can't afford too many misses. But evolution has provided them with a special tool for their aerial attack: echolocation. When hunting, bats emit ultrasonic sounds too high-pitched for a human to hear. When these sound waves hit an object, like a flying moth, the echo bounces back. The sound waves are only about 1/10 of an inch apart, enabling the bat to detect its tiny target and lock onto it like a guided missile. Longer, lower-pitched waves would pass right over something as small as an insect. To receive these ultrasonic echoes, bats have specially adapted ears, which, in the long-eared bat's case, are almost as long as their bodies. But some moths have evolved a way to fight back. They have an early warning system. An ear able to detect these high-frequency sound waves. The bat's sonar vibrates across a membrane in the ear, giving the moth a split second to take evasive action. It can cut their risk of predation by 50%. But it's not foolproof. When they're not engaged in aerial dogfights, bats use their sonar to navigate across the night sky. Their sound waves bounce off the surrounding features of the landscape. By interpreting the echoes that return, bats can build an auditory map of their environment with remarkable precision. While bats and moths can detect the highest frequencies in the animal kingdom, other animals specialize in the lowest end of the range. This herd of elephants on the African savanna is made up of mothers and their young, led by a dominant matriarch. Highly social animals, elephant families tend to stick together and are always in contact, constantly calling between members. They're a close-knit bunch. Mature male elephants live apart from these female herds, often more than 100 miles away. Most of the time, this distance is to everyone's benefit. It keeps aggressive males away from the smaller females and calves. But in mating season, it's a problem. This 10-year-old female is in estrus. She'll only be able to conceive for a few days, so it's important she finds a male quickly. But an elephant's trumpet can only be heard over short distances. The nearest male could be far out of range. Luckily, she has another way of calling. When she's ready to mate, she begins to rumble. She produces the sound by blowing air past her long vocal cords. Six miles away, a 30-year-old bull is also looking for a mate. He's in must. His testosterone levels have skyrocketed to 60 times higher than normal. And now he senses something. He hears a rumbling, not with his ears, but with his feet. It's the female. As opposed to bats, which produce ultrasonic sound waves above the human hearing range, the female's rumbling produces infrasonic sound waves, well below the range of human hearing, under 20 hertz. They travel through the ground, rippling across the surface for miles, like waves on water. When the male pauses and leans on his front legs, a pad of fatty tissue under the heel, packed with nerve endings, acts like a drumhead. As the female's infrasonic sound waves travel through the ground, the bull senses the vibrations, hearing with his feet. He tracks her rumbling for 4 days, gradually homing in on her location. Now he's found her. Though mating is brief, the bull will stay with her while she's in heat, warding off other potential suitors. The elephant's infrasonic superpower brings family together and helps them find food and water and even forecast the weather. They can hear the distant rumbling of rain up to 150 miles away through their feet. Birds have a distinct advantage over elephants. Thanks to flight, they can cover a lot of ground quickly, so they don't need to send long-distance messages. In fact, when they're on the move, they often try to make as little noise as possible, especially when they're hunting. The barn owl is an aerial assassin that preys on small rodents. Its feathers have evolved to allow it to fly in absolute silence. Though typically a nocturnal hunter, when prey is scarce, it will venture out in broad daylight. But how do you find prey hidden in the long grass of an Irish meadow? The owl's solution is to listen carefully. Its whole head is designed for hearing. A circular disc of stiffened feathers around the face funnels sound waves towards its ears. The ears themselves are asymmetrical, one set higher up on one side of its head than the other. So the owl can work out both the height and direction a sound is coming from. With ears so incredibly sensitive, they can hear the tiniest rustle. Once it detects potential prey, the owl silently glides above it, then plunges. Just before impact, it tips its head back and strikes forward with its talons. The force of the blow kills its prey. The rat never heard it coming. In the same way that infrasonic and ultrasonic sounds are beyond the scope of human hearing, ultraviolet and infrared light are beyond the boundaries of what we can see. Ultraviolet light lies just beyond the visible spectrum for humans. Like ultrasound used by bats, its wavelength is shorter than our receptors have evolved to detect. And while primates can't detect UV light, nearly all other animals can. Plants face one of the biggest challenges in nature. How do you reproduce when you can't move? Every flower has male gametes, pollen, and a receptive female organ, the stigma. The hard part is getting the pollen from one flower to another flower's stigma. It's a sticky situation, so they famously outsourced the solution. For millions of years, some plants have relied on bees to pollinate them. They produce nectar to lure in the pollinators and flowers to advertise the nectar. Of course, there are lots of good flowers in the field, so the best display gets the most attention, leading to the extraordinary beauty and range in style and color that flowers are famous for. But it turns out, we're only seeing half of it. And what is beautiful to us is irresistibly dazzling to a honeybee. The most vivid displays are in ultraviolet or UV light, well beyond our spectrum. But not beyond the bees. In ultraviolet, new patterns emerge on the petals, including markings that point to the nectar, hidden in the center of the flower. The markings act like a landing strip for the bee. And as it follows the trail to the nectar, the plant gets what it needs: an unwitting pollinator that will fertilize its flower and carry its pollen to the next one. It's a remarkably successful strategy. The vast majority of the animal kingdom can see UV light. So it's no surprise that some animals also have displays that extend into this end of the spectrum. To the human eye, this male blue tit in a British woodland looks very similar to the female. But a blue tit sees things very differently. Humans have 3 color-sensitive cones in their eyes, but birds have 4. And it's the 4th cone that sees UV light. Bright blue patches on the male's head reflect UV light, dazzling any females that might be watching. It's like having a shiny reflective sticker on your head. It's believed that females choose their mates depending on how reflective their crowns are. It's an indicator of good genes and vitality. A less reflective crown means poor health. Unfit males can't maintain their crown and are less likely to mate, while healthy ones get to pass on their genes. For the male blue tit, it pays to advertise. But for many prey species, it's wiser to keep a low profile. So if you're a predator, how do you find your food when it's hiding out of sight? In a Central African forest, this ball python is playing a high-stakes game of hide and seek. Somewhere, a rat is hiding, and she's doing the seeking. She has very poor vision, but she has another kind of sight that's much better for this deadly game. All objects emit infrared, also known as heat waves. While we can detect the waves as heat from a fire or the sun, the snake can sense it at much lower levels, like from a warm-blooded body. 4 thermoreceptors on each side of the mouth detect infrared radiation from almost 3 feet away. The rat stiffens, hoping it won't be seen. As the snake gets closer, the radiating heat from its quarry slowly heats up the snake's pit organs. Once it goes above a certain threshold, it sends an electrical signal to the optic center of the brain, giving it a visual image of the rat telling it that dinner is in striking range. The rat can hide, but its own body temperature gives it away. Snakes are able to use this special sense because they're cold-blooded. If they weren't, they wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the heat given off by their prey and the heat of their own bodies. But this isn't the only supersense snakes possess. In the deserts of South Africa, a night adder is on the move. He's tracking something. He flicks his tongue quickly as he chooses which direction to take. He's on the hunt, not for food, but for a female. It's spring, breeding season. While the male searches, he's not using his sight. He's tracking by smell, using his tongue. A female has gone into estrus, leaving a trail of sex pheromones, chemical messages passed between members of the same species. When the male flicks his tongue out, he picks up the pheromone particles and brings them to a patch of sensory cells on the roof of his mouth, known as the vomeronasal or Jacobson's organ. Nerves in two small cavities, one for each side of his forked tongue, receive the particles and relay the information to his brain. In this way, not only can he decipher the scent, but he can also tell which direction it's coming from. Finally, he finds the object of his pursuit. There's very little external difference between males and females. Even a snake can get confused. So he uses his tongue to taste and confirm the other snake's gender. It's a female. He bumps his chin on top of her head to show his interest. The mating lasts a couple of hours before they part ways. It's a slithery, wriggly process between two highly venomous hunters. As important as finding a mate is, the first order of business for most animals is finding food. And there's one bird that's exceptionally good at this: the turkey vulture. Turkey vultures are like nature's trash collectors. They feed almost exclusively on carrion. It's food that won't fight back. But how do carnivores find food that doesn't move and makes no sound? For turkey vultures, the answer is a supersense of smell. They have the largest olfactory lobe of any bird, the part of the brain that processes scent. Coupled with large nostrils and more smell receptors than any other bird. Like bloodhounds in the sky, they can detect odors as low as a few parts per billion in the air. They can sniff the delicious scent of a rotting carcass from more than a mile away. This keen sense of smell means turkey vultures are often the first on the scene, enjoying the sweet smell of success. Few sounds are as haunting as the howl of a wolf. Yet despite their melodious calls, hearing isn't their most powerful sense. This pack of grey wolves in Europe is 6 strong, with 4 males and 2 females. dominant pair, called the alpha male and female, lead the pack in the decision-making. The pack's internal dynamics are surprisingly complex and sophisticated. Like humans, communication is key to their relationships. They use body language, sound, but most important is the chemistry of scent. Smell is the most acute of a wolf's senses. Inside the noses of both wolves and humans are scroll-shaped plates called turbinates, covered with tiny scent-detecting cells. These turbinates moisturize and warm the air, aiding with detecting scent. Unfolded, a human's turbinate would cover the area of a postage stamp. A wolf's is 14 times larger, the size of a whole postcard. And while humans have around 6 million scent-detecting cells, wolves have around 200 million, making their sense of smell 100 times greater. It's an invaluable hunting tool, but it's also key to their communication. Wolves have scent glands that produce personal signatures in the form of pheromones. Scent glands between their toes leave a signature on the ground wherever they travel. They mark their territory with this scent, as well as with urine and scat, communicating everything from their sex, age and health, to their reproductive status. It's a language all their own. Usually, the alpha pair are the only ones in a pack to mate. The male sniffs the female to confirm she's in heat. And together, they'll sniff out any challenges to their rule. It's their super sense of smell which keeps a successful pack together. Few animals are capable of matching the nasal prowess of a wolf. But in the Andes of South America lives a creature with a nose even sharper. A lone, spectacled bear forages on the rugged mountain slopes in northern Peru. It's a tough environment, and she needs a lot of calories to support her 90-pound frame. She's got to be persistent, and most important, follow her nose. She's built to sniff. Manipulating her nostrils with hundreds of tiny muscles, moving them with the same dexterity as humans moving their fingers. Scent travels up nasal canals, which have hundreds of times the surface area of a human's nose and 1 billion scent receptor cells. The large surface area means more places to catch scent particles. That gives her a better chance of detecting even the faintest smells. Special nerves carry the signal to the olfactory bulb in the brain, the part of the forebrain dedicated to smell. Although the spectacled bear's brain is only a sixth of the size of a human's, its olfactory lobe, the area concerned with smell, is 18 times larger. That's a lot of smell power for such a small brain. 7 times better than a bloodhound's, and over 2,000 times sharper than a human's. Bears have one of the best senses of smell on Earth. In mammals, scent takes a complicated route, in through the nostrils, activating smell receptors, and finally to the brain. But when you're only an inch or so long, you have to find a simpler solution. Antennae are the main sense organs for most insects, combining taste, smell, and touch, all in one handy appendage. Antennae are covered in olfactory receptors, which detect scent particles in the air, and they're vital for navigation. They connect an insect to the enormous world that surrounds it, and to the other members of its species. In Brazil, a male Sara longwing butterfly has staked out his turf. Picking up a tiny signal in the vast rainforest, he's followed his antennae here. A female, still in her chrysalis. Even now, she's giving off pheromones, signaling that when she emerges, she'll be ready to mate. His antennae are so sensitive he can detect these pheromones from half a mile away. Right now, it's a waiting game. But females only mate once in their lives, so competition among males is intense. Some males will rip open a female's chrysalis before she's ready to emerge to try and mate with her, sometimes killing her in the process. But this fellow is patient. He wafts his pheromones towards her to show her how desirable he is. During mating, the male releases an anti-aphrodisiac onto a female's scent glands. It's a cocktail of chemicals that fools his competitors into thinking the female is a male. Using this trick, he stands a better chance of passing on his genes. Even if you're bigger than a butterfly, it's still a big world out there. While we might use street signs or a GPS to find our way around, animals must navigate through life unassisted. To find their way, they use their senses in some unusual ways. For the dung beetle, nothing smells better than fresh poop. An enormous pile of elephant dung in Africa attracts them from far and wide. Relative to their size, dung beetles are the strongest animals on Earth, capable of pulling over 1,000 times their own body weight. That's like a human pulling 5 school buses. They put that strength to good use. This industrious male is working on wooing the female of his dreams by making the perfect dung ball for her to lay her eggs in. But competition is fierce, and it's much easier to steal a rival's hard-crafted ball than to roll your own. So like a squirrel with a nut, once he's formed the ball, he speeds away. he'll bring his impressive dung ball back to his burrow and put it on display, so any passing female can see exactly what he's got to offer. Prime real estate, perfect for starting a family. A quick getaway from the crowd of rivals is essential. He uses the sun to orient himself and navigate to his burrow. But he can still find the fastest route when it's cloudy. Dung beetles use special structures in their eyes called microvilli. These finger-like structures are oriented in different directions, allowing them to detect polarized light. As light enters our atmosphere, it becomes polarized. The closer to the sun the light is, the less polarized it becomes, creating rings of polarization in the sky, which the dung beetles can see, even through clouds. It keeps him going in a straight line, the quickest route away from the dung heap and competing males. Once a female's been wooed by his impressive dung ball, she lays only a single egg in the ball. When it hatches into a larva, the grub will consume the entire dung ball as its first meal. So that marathon ball rolling pays off. For animals that must travel great distances, often through the night, it's not possible to rely on the sun alone for global positioning. It's spring, and this flock of 1,000 Brent geese is preparing to leave their feeding grounds in the Irish salt marshes and head north for their summer breeding grounds in the Canadian Arctic. Though small, weighing barely 2 pounds, they make one of the largest migrations of any bird, almost 1,500 miles. All without a map. Instead, they use Earth's magnetic field to navigate. While humans need a compass to detect this magnetic field, it's believed birds can actually see it. Brent geese have specialized magnetoreceptors in their retinas. These receptors affect their sensitivity to light, so magnetic fields may show up as brighter or darker patterns, spread out over everything a bird sees. So as they look at the world around them, they always know which way is north and in which direction to fly to their breeding grounds. The use of an internal compass isn't unique to birds. It's also used by another of nature's greatest travelers, sea turtles. Imagine you had to travel across the vast ocean and return to the exact beach where you were born. No easy feat. This is the challenge, facing female sea turtles. Green turtles nest on this beach on Gorgona Island off the west coast of Colombia. They've made a 2,000-mile journey to get here. And it's all possible thanks to Earth's magnetic field. They use a magnetic map rather like a GPS, but based on magnetism rather than satellites. Scientists believe tiny particles within a turtle's brain respond to the magnetic field, giving the turtle a sense of where it is. Nesting females will lay more than 100 eggs in each nest. The eggs incubate for about 60 days. When a hatchling emerges, the unique magnetic fingerprint of its location is imprinted in its brain. It senses the beach and the world around it, forming a connection that will last its entire life. Once they emerge from the nest, they instinctively head toward the reflective surface of the water. The first step on a journey the females will make in reverse 30 to 40 years later. Even in their first moments, navigation can make the difference between life and death. These are ghost crabs, armed with inch-long claws and a taste for baby turtles. They will dig out a burrow, hide, and try to drag an unsuspecting hatchling to its death. A turtle's best chance is to get to the sea fast. This crab's too small, a lucky break for the hatchling. Even when they reach the water, they aren't safe. As frigate birds, pirates of the air circle overhead, ready to snatch the hatchlings as they come up for air. For every 1,000 turtles that reaches the open ocean, only one will survive to breed. The females will return to this same beach to lay their eggs, thanks to their super magnetic sense. Being in the vast ocean presents its own set of challenges to navigate and find food. Stingrays evolved more than 100 million years ago. They forage for fish and invertebrates hidden on the seafloor or swimming beneath them. But their eyes are on the top of their bodies, so they must detect and capture prey without ever seeing it. This one is on the hunt. It drops to the sea floor. Fins push away the sand to uncover its quarry. Then it sucks up its prey. But how does it find its mark without looking? The stingray exploits a fundamental feature of life. All animals generate electricity. It's how signals travel through the nervous system. We live in a world full of electric fields, but only a few animals can sense them. Stingrays are one of them. Every time a fish breathes, it generates a small electric current. Stingrays detect these tiny currents with special electroreceptive organs called ampullae of Lorenzini, tiny pits on their snouts. These pits are filled with electroreceptive crystalline gel. This gel is so sensitive that it can detect changes in voltage as low as a 6/1000th of a volt per square inch. That's like detecting the voltage generated by a human blink from 300 feet away. These sensors point in all directions, like a giant antenna, enabling the animal to move accurately towards its prey. Even the most elusive prey can't hide from a stingray. As the stingray swims along the sea floor, it senses where a fish might be hidden under the sand. Once located, it pounces. Its flattened body acts like a plunger, sucking prey out of the sand towards its mouth. From electric signals betraying the location of prey, to chemical signals leading males to their mates, and invisible light guiding the way, humans can perceive only a fraction of this sensory world around us. Animals, from the smallest bee to the largest elephant, provide us with insight into this invisible world.
Hey Love Nature fans, be sure to like and subscribe to catch all our wild animal stories. Get closer to nature right here on YouTube.